So I know all of our kids are getting ready to go back to school this month. Some are starting this week, I've heard, and mine are going back closer to the middle of the month. So I think more and more parents need to be prepared in different ways than we've had to be prepared in the past. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. It's just so interesting to me because when I was a teen, the issues that I faced in my childhood, it was always, say no to drugs. And, I think the campaign was just say no, no underage drinking, no smoking, things like that. I never could have imagined the conversations that I would have to have with my kids today, reminding them that boys are boys and girls are girls, and that if a teacher ever tries to convince them otherwise, that they need to let me know. And I've had these conversations with my kids, and they look at me like I am completely crazy. Like, who would tell them that? I mean, we moved into the school district where we are now specifically because we believed that it aligned with our values and that it really just focused on education, things like spelling and reading and writing and math, things that kids are actually supposed to be learning in school. So we picked this school district specifically based on that. But that doesn't mean that we are in the clear and that we can sit back and not participate in our child's education and their classroom. So some of the things that parents need to be doing is introduce yourself to your child's teacher. If you have more than one child, introduce yourself to all of your children's teachers. Make sure that they know your name. Have a look around the classroom. See what books are on display. See what materials they're going to be learning from. Ask for a reading list. What books are your kids going to be reading this year? You can also generally find these things online and have a scroll through the books. You can find copies of the books on Amazon. It'll give you an overview of the book and the information and the topics and the principles that are in those books. Get involved. I understand we are busy. I understand that we have a lot going on. I also understand that homeschooling is not feasible for everyone. So when people say, oh, just homeschool your child, I understand that that is not necessarily workable, and that's not realistic for a lot of people, unfortunately. So we really do rely on the public education system, but it is our taxpayer dollars that are going to these schools, that are paying for these materials, that are paying salaries. So we need to know what's going on, and we have a right to know what's going on. So get to know your teachers, get to know the classrooms that your kids are in. Ask for a tour of the school library and find out which sections are your children going to be directed to based on their grade, and just have a look through the books. Ask what they're going to be learning from. Ask what they're going to be reading. Look around their classroom, look around the library, look around the school. Something that I do, and I don't want this to sound crazy, is that if I can find a public social media profile of their teacher, I will look them up and see the kind of things that they put online. A lot of teachers have their profiles on private. A lot of teachers don't share a lot of public information, so I haven't seen anything really alarming. But as we've seen, there's a lot of teachers that love to go on TikTok and post about their kids pledging allegiance to the pride flag and decking their entire classroom out in pride decor and paraphernalia, and all of the books that they have lining the walls with, teaching them to be transgender, and, girls can be boys and boys can be girls. So we know that there are a lot of teachers that are very, very, very public about the things that they want to put in the classroom. So don't be afraid to go online and look up your teacher and see what they post publicly. They may or may not have an open profile, and that's perfectly fine, but it doesn't hurt to check. Also, know when your school board meetings are. I understand school board meetings are not the most exciting events to go to, and especially when you're working full time and you're already exhausted, it's not how you want to spend your evenings. But honestly, we have to know what is going on. And even if you don't plan to say anything at the meeting, at least attend so you know what is being discussed. And you can also hear if there are other parents that bring up issues that you might not be aware of, that you didn't even know were happening, or situations that are happening with their kids that you need to be on alert for. So there's a lot of benefit to going, but then you know who your school board is, you know the issues that are being discussed, you know how they treat the parents of the students in the school, so you need to be aware. And the days of, parent-teacher conferences not being necessary and just kind of brushing them off, those are over. You need to attend parent-teacher conferences. You need to be able to discuss any open topic and have open communication with your child's teacher, again, so that they know who you are and that they know that you care about what your child is learning. As far as in the home, I have had discussions with my children about if a teacher or somebody in authority ever says to you, don't tell your parents, if you ever hear that phrase from anybody, you leave that conversation and you contact me, whether you have to go to the principal's office or the front office and call me. You call me and I will come and get you. If anybody ever says that to my child, that is an instant red flag and they are to let me know immediately. Have age-appropriate conversations about things that your child may or may not hear in their classroom. And I'm not saying get into the ins and outs of gender ideology and gender identity and, the LGBTQ community. I mean, I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So these conversations are very different for each child. But my oldest is going into middle school this year. And I've asked him, has a teacher ever introduced the idea that boys can be girls and girls can be boys? Have you ever read a book or had an assignment that had any of these kind of topics in it? So keep those lines of communication open with your child. Do not ever make it feel like they can't come to you with this information or that you're going to be mad or that you're going to be upset. These are just things that you need to know what's going on. I ask my children, all of them, did you learn anything today that you had questions about or that made you feel uncomfortable? Or that there was something that you weren't sure if you could come and talk to me about. I always ask them these questions. I need to know what ideas, whether it be even from their friends, what is happening? What did you hear today? And, I feel like we've established a pretty open line of communication between myself and my children. Also, don't be afraid to remind your children that they are amazing, how they were created, and who they are. You as a parent know if your child is comfortable in their own body. My children, they are who they are. They play with the toys they want to play with. Sometimes my daughter plays and wants to be an army character, and sometimes my son wants to play Barbies with my daughter. And I've never discouraged any of that. I've never forced them that they have to play with certain toys or be certain people or force, what people call dangerous gender norms on them. They are who they are. And remind your children every day that they are beautiful how they were created. Remind them of their talents. Remind them of, the kind acts that they do during the day, the way they serve others, the way they treat others. Always remind them to be kind, to stand up against bullying, to stand up for people that they think are being picked on, to just enforce those characteristics because that is your job as a parent. And don't ever let a teacher bully you into thinking that if you don't put your child in this place of having to learn about gender identity, that you're not interested in teaching your child about kindness. Don't let a teacher call you a bigot or a transphobe or a racist or any of these things, because you as a parent know what's best for your child, and it is your job to guide these conversations. You know that your child is a loving and accepting and kind human being. You know that your child is perfectly comfortable in their own body, and they don't need this suggestion that they were born in the wrong body or that they need to explore the possibility of being something other than they're not, that they aren't. So just don't be afraid to be actively involved in these conversations. Do positive affirmations with your child so that they know how amazing and wonderful they are as they are. Get involved in the school, get involved in the classroom, make your presence known, and just be aware of what's going on. We can't send our children to school unsupervised and just put them and just trust that they're going to come out and that they're going to be okay. We can't do that anymore. We have to be actively involved, and that makes you a good parent. That makes you a strong and loving and kind and caring parent. No matter what anybody says, if you are actively involved in your child's education, in your child's classroom, you know what's going on, and you're having conversations with them, and you are affirming to them that they are wonderful and amazing, then you are a good parent.